Okay, so once again, we are doing a 100 list training today. And a lot of this is from training from Craig. If you were in Vancouver yesterday, I would love for you to share in the comments your biggest takeaway, and I will share those as well, because the one thing about trainings is sometimes we hear different things at different times, and sometimes we have those aha moments. So that was one of the biggest things that I got from Craig is I have stopped sharing with as many people. So a lot of people might ask me, like, how did I launch so quickly? How did I kind of move up the ranks? A big part of that was that I was inviting to overviews. I had a structure. So I was launching, I did about 2 overviews, just myself, every week for about the first month that I joined. And I was doing them with Jen Dowd. So I was like, oh my goodness, I better have people on those overviews. So you guys, literally, I was asking my mom and dad who were traveling in the US, like, can you be on a call tonight? And they drove to a ranger station. Like, that was the kind of inviting I was doing. I was asking hairdressers. I was asking people in the beauty industry. I was asking all sorts of people, would you come check this out? Tell me what you think. I'd love your feedback. So tonight or this afternoon, whenever you're tuning into this, we're going to do a training on how to make your list. And I got really inspired yesterday by Craig by a couple of things. So number one, he said, you have to keep playing the game. And because we're entrepreneurs, sometimes we stop playing the game. We don't have a boss saying, Benny, did you contact 5 people today? Did you do your reach outs? Are you inviting people? So I think that's my tip number one is treat your business like a business, right? If there was a store and there was no customers in it and they weren't doing anything differently, they wouldn't get more customers, right? So we have an amazing product. Give me a yes if you think we have an amazing product. We do. We love our products. Give me a nod if you know that we have an amazing compensation plan. Yes, we do. So it's just a matter of talking to enough people. So we're going to do a training today, and it's going to be an interactive training because I want us to all come out of here with a list. And then your homework is going to be to finish that list. And then I have a challenge for all of you. So I'm going to just see in the comments, apples. Yes, we're going to talk about apples. Okay. Lambert. Yes, I love it. And you can do hard things. Angela, would you come on and share a bit more about the Lambert?
Sure. So I resonated with that story because that was my favorite story growing up as a kid. My grandma and grandpa had the picture book of Lambert, the sheepish lion. And I remember watching it on TV, like for the Disney Hour, when I'm that old, when the 6 o'clock on Sunday afternoon was Disney Hour. And so, yeah, it's about this lion, named Lambert, who the stork dropped him off in a flock of sheep instead of with a pride of lions. And so the lion grew up thinking that he was a sheep, and so he was a follower, and he kind of just grazed and did sheep things. And I have sheep, so maybe this is why it resonates with me too. But yeah, so Lambert is always like sheepish until his mother, the yo, is faced with a predator. I can't remember if it's a coyote or a wolf or something, but a predator. And then Lambert remembers who he is. And so then he roars and saves like his mother. He's able to become the lion that he is. So yeah, like it's just what I was reminded of was the fact that we all have a purpose and we all are connected to different people. And so don't shy away or play small. Like, let people know, give a roar about how amazing this is, because it is life changing, not only just for our health, but also the compensation plan, and also to not limit our belief and limit our dreams. So like we may think in our head, well, this is what I'd like to achieve, but don't put a ceiling on it. Just like let it be wide open.
I love it. So if you have not heard this story, look it up. Is it just called Lambert, Angela?
It's Lambert the Sheepish Lion.
Lambert the
I can
Sheepish
find it.
Lion.
Yeah, I'll find it and put it in the notes.
Okay, find it, put it in the notes.
Yeah.
And if you can throw it up in our Trailblazers chat as well, so everybody can watch that. It's a reminder of, we have that fire, we have that we have that in us. And just like a little side note, yesterday, Beth and Leslie and Trent all spoke in front of a room full of people. You guys, I had to train in front of a room full of people, and I definitely had to tap into that lioness. So we all have it inside ourselves. So that is an awesome way to start, is find our courage, find our fire. And then Beth was saying, be consistent, make your list, and play the game. And the game is to share and talk to people, right? And I'm going to go over different ways to do that. But first, I'm going to introduce the Apple training that we got, because I absolutely love this training. So there are 3 kinds of apples. There are green apples, there are red apples. Sorry, there are red apples, there are green apples, and there are rotten apples. So green apples is where you want to spend 80% of your time. And just so you guys know, if you're on this call, you were a green apple, most likely.
Red. Benny, you want to see what's red?
Red.
Yeah.
Red apple. Sorry, red. I think I think green because go, but red apples. So that's where you want to focus. 80% of your time is on the red apples, and I'll explain what those are. Then 20% of your time you want to focus on the green apples, and those rotten apples, none of your time. So we're first going to start talking about the red apples. So red apples, these are people who are, I'm going to say, your warm market, people that are most likely going to say yes. And Craig gave us lots of different examples of red apples. So Leslie's not on this call, but I'm going to give the example of last week, Leslie texted me at 7:30 in the morning and said, "Do you want to go for a cold dip today?" And I was like, "Sure, what time?" And she said a certain time. And then I asked a couple questions and I said, "Okay, I'll meet you there." Right? So that I'm a red apple. Somebody calls you up and says, "Do you want to go to the movies?" And you're like, "Yeah, that would be great." Right? So you want to focus most of your time on those red apples. Now your green apples, those are the analytical ones. So for example, let's just use the example of Leslie inviting me to go swimming. It's like, I asked what time it was that she wanted to meet. I also gave some parameters. I was like, well, I have to be back by a certain time. But if I was a green apple, I would have said, well, what's the water temperature like? What's the parking like? Is it salt water? Is it ocean water? I would have asked a lot of questions. So sometimes they just need some more time. And there might also be some green apples on this call as well. Those are some people that sometimes just take a little more. Sometimes, they need to come to a few more overviews or have a few more conversations. These are the people you need to circle back with. Then we have the rotten apples. And those are people we don't want to spend any of our time with. Now, rotten apples can come around, but we don't want to spend our time on those people. So for example, I did a hair post of my beautiful hair from my collagen, and I had probably 8 people be like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. I had 2 ladies that were like, that is way too expensive, not for me. And I said, no problem. I'm here if you ever have any questions. One lady in particular kind of went on and on about different things that could be cheaper. And I just didn't engage. For me, that was like a rotten apple, somebody who was just negative. Then there were some people who just wanted to know, like, can you tell me where the collagen comes from? Is it GMO collagen? They had some questions about the sourcing of the collagen. So I got them those questions. There was other people who maybe had some concerns about the price and needed more questions about the value of the collagen. So then there were some people that were like, oh my gosh, when I said I have a discount code, they wanted to get their hands on it. So once again, we have our red apples, then we have our green apples, and then we have our rotten apples. So this really gave me some insight on where we want to be spending our time, right? So you guys know your red apples. Those are the people who are generally optimistic. They are people who, if you were to say in your life, like, hey, you want to go to Vancouver to this Turnant event? And they're like, sure, let's jump in a Jeep and let's go. Do you want to go to Vegas to TLA? Sure, let's drive there. Let's jump on a plane. Let's share a room. We'll make it happen, right? And then there's some other people who might have some questions, and that's okay too. So this really, really gave me some inspiration because there's going to be all kinds of people, right? And you've probably also heard me say before that on average, people need to be shown something or asked 7 or 8 times before they're a yes. Now, some people are going to be the first time. Some people are going to be 3. And this is all kinds of different exposures. Veronica Singh also uses a baseball analogy: first base, second base, third base. So first base, for example, is you throw up a testimonial. So maybe your testimony is about collagen, for example. Your hair's longer and thicker, and somebody sees that for the first time. And they're interested, right? And then maybe you're doing a Facebook Live with me, and we go live and we talk about collagen. We just talk about the why we take collagen, why is ours is unique, and then that piques their interest a little bit more. And then maybe on the third time, they comment or they like something, and you invite them to an event like we have coming up on Tuesday. And then that is the place where they're like, yes, this is amazing. So I'm just going to share my experience with Turnant. I had 3 or 4 friends using the collagen. And then I had a particular week where one person messaged me and she was like, oh my gosh, have you heard of this collagen? It's amazing. And she's a friend of mine. And I was like, actually, I have. A few of my other friends order it. And she said to me, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And I said, well, you know, I'd order it from my friend who already asked me, but thanks for checking in. And she's like, oh my gosh, you need to get your hands on this collagen. So that's like a third party validation for me. And that was like, okay, now I want to try this collagen. So you want to think about that when we're posting and sharing our stories. The more we comment and third party validate each other, the more people are going to know that it's something that's real. So, and it's something that could benefit them, because we know our products are amazing, but humans, we're all a little skeptical by nature. We also, know stories of, I'm just going to use Beth as an example. Beth was one of the very first people I shared my collagen with. Beth, you are a red apple. So I said to Beth, we were on the phone and, I think we were stopping coaching calls for our previous company because she was in pain. And I said, you know what? I don't know if this would help you, but I've been using this collagen. And she was like, okay, I'd give that a try. And then I invited her to a call, and then she signed up as an associate and bought a bundle, right? So sometimes there's extra steps we need to take. So that's just a little kind of background on a few of the things that sometimes it takes for people to be a yes. But the first place you guys want to start is your list of 100. And I know 100 might sound like a lot, but if you were to really make a list of 100 and tackle that list, I promise you, your business is going to start to grow. And like anything, it's like peeling back the onion. So we're going to do a little exercise, and then your homework is going to be to finish your list. Okay. So a few places that you can look for your 100 people. And I know a few people here are from a previous company, whether it be makeup or health or food. And that is one place to look. So if you've ever done another business, those people already know the world of direct sales. So for me, those are often people that are going to be interested. What if the person who introduces you, Angela, do you want to come off and ask your question?
It was just another thing that was a light bulb moment for me yesterday was when I think it was Craig said, what if the person who introduced you to Trinant didn't? So like think back to why we're so excited, like just like how much it's impacted your life, and share that story. So that's
absolutely. Like, for example, I think about Beth quite often, and I think, what if I hadn't opened my mouth and said, there's this collagen out there? And maybe Beth said, oh, it's too expensive. And then I was like, hey, I know, would you just come check this out and hear a bit more about it? You know, so absolutely. That's a great reminder. So we're going to start with all different categories. So the first one is if you've ever been with a previous business or workplace. So for example, I used to work in social services. I also worked in an all-girls school doing shifts. I worked in a foster home. So first we're going to start with the employment world. So if you have a 9-to-5 job, or if you've been with another company before, who are some of those people that you can think of? Oh my gosh, that person's an athlete. That person has health concerns. That person has a food allergy. And I want you guys to start making your list. And here's the other thing is you don't want to exclude anybody. So even if you're like, oh my gosh, but that's my boss, like don't exclude anybody. Because what I know from being in the industry for 8 years is when you start writing things down, the universe sometimes has a crazy way of putting them in your path. Okay, so that's the first category is workplace, previous companies, other companies. I think Leslie's actually on here. And I'm just going to share that in our previous company, I really wanted to work with Leslie, but she was with another company. And so I thought, I can't talk to her. She's with another company. And then about a week later, I got an email saying she joined my team with someone else. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought to even ask her or share with her that like, hey, I know you're with another company, but you're on my dream list to work with. And look at us now, Leslie. All right, so we're going to take a minute to go through that category, and I want you to write down the category. You can also do this in a Google Doc if you're somebody who does not like pen and paper. And if you need some inspiration, you can also, once we have these categories, we're just going to spend about a minute on each category. And then we're going to go to our Facebook list and our contact list, and you can start filling in the blanks. So that's the first category is your company and work. The next category we're going to do is neighbors and community. So once again, you want to peel back the layers. So for example, if you've just moved or if you live somewhere else and you were close to your neighbors before, if there's somebody that dog walks in your neighborhood, if there's a community group that you're in, if your parents have neighbors, if your children have neighbors. So like really peel back those layers of who that could be. And anytime you know something specific about the person, put it in brackets. So for example, if you know your neighbor had hip surgery, put that in brackets because it's going to save you time when you're sending invites. Or if you know your neighbor likes to go to the gym, okay? And make sure you include people that you've already talked to as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do mine color coded. So if I haven't talked to them at all yet, they'll stay black. And if I've talked to them before, I'm going to make them, and then you want to, or maybe you want to color code them with your apple system, like green apples, red apples. And then if they're a rotten apple, you just take them off the list. Okay, so we have neighbors, community groups. That's another category. Then we're going to go to next, our family. And once again, peel back the layers. Family could be family friends. Family could be cousins. They could be third cousins. They could be your best friend's cousins. They could be step cousins. Like there are so many layers. They could be in-laws. And in my case, they're ex-in-laws. So peel back the layers of family. So in my previous company, one of my customers was a cousin that I hadn't talked to in 8 years. Once again, just drop 1 or 2 names down, and then we're going to go through our contact lists once we have all the categories. Okay, the next category is family, or sorry, we just did family, friends. So once again, this could be friends from elementary school. Like think of all the different times in your life that your friends groups have changed. So for me, my friends group changed when I became a mom. I had different friends when I lived in a certain neighborhood, at different jobs, in university. I had different friends when I was in elementary school. And I don't know if she's on, but Casey and I went to elementary school. We haven't seen each other in a long, long, long time. Okay, so we have friends. This could be friends of friends. Our next category is hobbies. So for example, are you in any sports? Are your kids in any sports? So maybe it's like, you know, baseball friends or dinner club friends, volleyball friends, mom friends. You're in a mom group, knitting group friends. And if you don't have a hobby now, because I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of hobbies since becoming a mom. There were times where I did have hobbies. So I used to be in boot camp. That was a community that I did. I used to play volleyball. Maybe you played soccer before. Maybe you were in a music group. And then we have service providers. So service providers, I'm going to go through a list. And you can always put these in brackets because remember, we're going to go through people and this will help jog your memory. And then you can kind of just make categories for yourself. Service providers could be your hairdressers. And I've had multiple hairdressers over the years. Or it could be like even like your mom's hairdresser or your friend's hairdresser. I know a lot of hairdressers that have never been my hairdresser, but I know they're hairdressers, if that makes sense. Massage therapists, estheticians, chiropractors, lash ladies. I know I've gotten my lashes done. Can anybody think of any other service providers? Throw it in the comments or come off mute.
Maybe the gym.
Gym, yeah, totally, like personal trainers,
Gym owners.
gym owners,
Dental assistant.
dental assistants, absolutely. Dentists. I'm not sure the word for optometrists. That's the eyes, right? Naturopaths, holistic nutritionists, teachers. We have quite a few teachers who do not. Nurses. Who do you know that's a nurse? We have quite a few nurses in Trinidad.
Childcare
people-
providers.
Childcare providers. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
They need the energy.
I was just going to say, my next category is going to be parents.
Yeah.
Who do you know that is a mom? Because they need mojo. New
Hands up.
moms. Right? Like, who do you know that works out? And I just like the categories because it helps jog my memory. Like, I've already been thinking of some people as you said that. Teachers is another category. So once again, maybe you're not close to the teacher this year. Maybe it was a different year. Maybe it's other teacher friends you have. And then the next one we kind of covered.
I'll just say to another provider, I don't know if you know of many, but my son is a tree climber. So his job is super physical. So he loves the Glow and Optimize.
Okay.
So like anybody who has a real physical job.
Construction.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Then the last category I have is health and wellness. So, I mean, we've kind of covered this in a bunch of different areas. So once again, this could be gym providers, nutritionists, naturopaths. So your homework is going to be to go through your Facebook groups, your Facebook friends. If you have cell phone, go through your contact lists. If you're in groups you're active in, you can start putting those people on lists. Anybody have any other places that you can get your contact list from? And remember,
Emails.
emails, totally, yeah. And remember, we're just making a list. So if you put them on your list, it doesn't mean you're calling them tomorrow. Because 100 people, you're not going to tackle them right away, right?
Maybe LinkedIn too.
LinkedIn. And then if you haven't watched Heather Geisinger's Rainbow training, that is an excellent way to reconnect with people as well. But we just want to take a stab at this list. Okay, so your homework is to tackle the list. And what I would love everyone to do is share in our thread or message me when you have finished your 100 list. I'm going to have mine done by tomorrow night because I'm going to go through every category just because I've been talking. So my challenge for you guys is to have your list done by tomorrow night. And we have an overview happening on Tuesday. So my challenge to all of you is to invite 10 people from that list to Tuesday's overview. And then this list is going to be ongoing, right? So people, once you have this list, you're going to then have to keep referencing this list. And one of the things we're going to start doing is having these homework parties before we have an overview so that you can be inviting to that overview. If you have not done a launch yet, so you could, if you've done a private launch, you could do a launch on your Facebook profile and I can do it with you. That's another place that you can invite people to. Another place you can find people from your list is go back from the last month and look at every single person who has liked any of your posts. You can also go into your stories and see who has liked your stories and then start putting them into categories. So you can start a Facebook category, right? So once you have that 100 list, this is going, I'm calling mine my master list because it is an ongoing list that we continually work on because you're always meeting new people. You're always going to have that memory jogged, right? Then the other list that you probably want to make or color code is people to follow up with. So for example, I have someone who contacted me and said, I'm really interested in what you're doing. And then I said, awesome, let's jump on a call. And she said, I'm going to be back in 2 weeks. I was like, okay. So if I don't write that down somewhere, that's a missed opportunity, right? I have someone else who 3 weeks ago messaged me and said, I'd love more information about the collagen. And then I've messaged her a couple times. Hey, when works for you? I'm around today. I'd love to jump on and share more about the collagen. Haven't heard back from her. So the next thing I might do is invite her to the event. Hey, I know you're interested. We're having this event tomorrow and see what happens. Because most of the time when people don't message you back, it's not because, I mean, we make up a million things in our heads, but usually they're just either busy or they missed it. So sometimes we're like, I couldn't possibly bother Angela when Angela's been away on holidays for 2 weeks, or she's been busy with work or school, or maybe she had something going on with her family. So checking in and following up with people, we need to change our mindset from that, I don't want to bug people, to you have something life-changing to offer these people. So maybe you not following up with them and not sharing with them again or not circling back could be the difference between their health or their business. And that's always the context that I look at is, what if nobody circled back to me? I wouldn't be here, right? So follow-up is so huge. And then the actual talking to people, right? So once you have the list, it's an active list. And then every time, and this is like, people ask me, oh, I don't understand how you got your 10 and 3. Well, I'm going to tell you, I was reaching out to people all the time. Hey, do you want to trade products? Hey, I have this amazing collagen. hey, I was having conversations. So it's always a batting average. And, Veronica talks about the different stages. So sometimes a first contact will be a like or a Facebook message, and then sending them to the ripple effect and sending them a testimony. And then sometimes it's also inviting them to an overview. So I'm going to go over next the different places. Once you have this list, what you're going to do with it. So number one, events. We have our overview happening on Tuesday. We have lots of other overviews happening. If you want to invite them to a team overview, if you want to speak at that overview and share your testimony, even better, because they'll get to hear you. But if not, you can invite them as well. Sure, I'll address the trading product piece. So that's number one, is inviting to an overview. Trading products. So I say this all the time, is you can use your products to trade for things that you already use. So I have traded for my Norwax, for fitness, for a purse. Like, hey, I'd love to order, like, for example, we were going to Mexico and I needed a new purse and I needed a new wallet, and I love 31. So I went to my 31 person and was like, hey, would you be interested in trading collagen or another product for some 31? My Norwax person. And I always do this in the industry, is I find someone who wants to trade with me, because for me, I want to support someone else's business, but I want to support someone who's going to support my business. Right. I have traded for all sorts of things. Like when my parents come and stay, I trade childcare for Mojo and collagen. I leave them Mojo and all the products. I line them up with the shot glasses. So you can do trading products for all sorts of things, but I do it for things I'm already wanting or using. Okay, so that's number one, is inviting people to overviews. Number two, and once again, you can look at Heather Geisinger's training on the rainbow. Everybody has their different style. Here's one of my favorites, is if you haven't talked to somebody in a long time and they're on your list, so simple, go to their Facebook group, go to their Facebook profile and ask them a question, right? So I'm just going to use an example of my cousin who's on my list. I haven't talked to her for months. So I'm not just going to say, hey, I started this new thing. Do you want to come? I'm going to go look at her profile. Say they went camping this weekend. I'm going to be like, hey, cuz, how's it going? Sorry, it's been so long. Life's been crazy. I saw you went camping on the weekend. Where did you go? Right? Now we're having a conversation. Then I'm going to warm the conversation and be like, I'm doing this thing. I would love for you to come check it out. Right?
Benny, can I ask a question, Benny?
Yeah.
Would you post that on their, in Messenger?
In Messenger, private message.
Okay. Private
always.
message. Okay.
The other one you can do is voice notes. So for example, somebody else on my list, I sent her a message. We're doing the dance of connecting right now. I'm going to tell you guys that my batting average is pretty much 100% if I have a one-on-one conversation, like an actual, hi, Leslie, let's get on the phone conversation. My batting average is about 100%. Usually 99.9, right? So when I can, I'll get on the phone with someone. So I'm just going to use Leslie for an example, because I can see you on the screen. When we were talking back in October, I forget how the conversation started, but I piqued your interest and I just called you. I didn't keep going. I just called you. Once your interest was piqued, you were like, really? What company? I called you. I got on the phone and I called you. Had I messaged you back and forth and said, oh my gosh, this is great collagen, da, 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 you probably would have been like, that sounds nice, too expensive. Right? But when I actually got to hear, you got to hear my excitement about my plantar fasciitis going away. You got to hear my excitement about Trent's heartburn. That's hard to say no to, right? It's the stories. So that's my success rate, is that I always love to, I always love to jump on a call. The next thing that I love to do, if there's people that are your red apples, have a tea date. So I have a customer on my list who, I sent her a message. This is what I started doing because I was like, I don't know how to contact people. And I just said, hey, Angela, since the pandemic, I really haven't connected with as many people. I'm taking on having tea dates with people I miss. I'd love to have tea with you one of these nights after the kids go to bed. And she was like, oh my gosh, like I'd love to do that. And so we had a catch up conversation. I did this with a number of people. One person in particular, like oftentimes the conversation flows. So it's like, what's new with you? Oh my gosh, well, I graduated from school, or, Mav's dealing with this. He passed swimming. I started this side hustle. I'm taking this collagen. Like I looked for a window. And you never know, right? So this particular person, I didn't even share about the products. We just caught up over tea, and I didn't feel like there was a window to share, so I didn't. And they actually messaged me 2 weeks later and said, it was so great catching up with you. I see that you're posting about this new stuff. I'd like to get the collagen. So even though that tea date didn't turn into something in that moment, so if you are busy and you take this on 2 times a week for 15 minutes. Like I set a timeline. I'm like, I have 30 minutes to have tea. Would you like to grab tea tonight? And these are people who are red apples, right? And they might be green apples once you start talking to them. Per day when the list is 110 per day for 10 days. Yeah, whatever you want. Exactly, Leslie. So it depends what you want. So if you are wanting to grow your business, like if your goal is Ruby, then you're inviting 10 people to every overview. So when my goal was Ruby, I was doing at least 2 overviews. I think I did 2 overviews for 3 weeks straight. Sometimes I had 3 people on an overview. Sometimes I had 2 people on an overview. I will do overviews anytime with you guys. The other thing that you can do is try different things. So you can do an overview on your personal profile as well and pique people's interest that way. Another sort of, for me, warm market is who's following your stories. So you've probably heard me say this before, but go back to your stories, especially like I like to lead up to my stories. So for example, like we're having a picnic, we're eating, we're taking Enrich, and then I share some Enrich information afterwards. If you go through who's watching your stories and then you reach out to 10 people who are watching your stories and say, oh my goodness, Lori, thanks so much for following my journey or following along or following my stories. I'm curious, would you like more information about what I'm up to, or are you just cheering me on? And Lori might say, oh my goodness, I'm actually just cheering you on, but I just love seeing you take on your health. I'm like, awesome. Well, if you're interested, I'm doing an overview tomorrow night. I'd love for you to come check it out and let me know what you think. And she might say, no, but now you've started a conversation. So you've planted that seed with Lori. So she might get back to you next week and say, you know what, I've actually been thinking about the collagen. Or you might reach out to someone who's following your story and they might say, I'm kind of curious about the collagen. So that's another place you can look. Another place is anybody who's liked or commented on any of your posts, whether it be personal or otherwise. Those for me are all red apples because they're following you. There are people, Jill Cavanaugh is not on here today. She might be watching the replay. She was someone who reached out to me and said, I've been stalking you for months and I want to try the collagen. I had zero idea she was watching, right? So I would have loved to reach out to her, but I didn't think that she would be interested. So once again, we get in our own way. The other tip I have for you is when you compliment people, it goes a long way. Like if I said to Leslie, I just came back from this event in Vancouver. I just got off this training call and you are on my list of someone I would love to partner with or I'd love to work with because you have such an amazing personality. Like when Leslie came to my house, she was with Beauty Counter and I was like, dang it, Beauty Counter, this woman's amazing. I'd love to work with her. Who doesn't want to hear that? Right? So if you compliment someone and say, you know what, like someone the other day was like, Benny, I just love how you wear your big, like your pink dresses and your color all the time. Like I'm much more likely to go check something out if someone's complimenting me on something, right? So lead with a compliment. Set up tea dates or coffee dates or kids play dates. And so you can multitask. So I'm watching Lori cook, which is awesome. Because you can invite people to an overview and then be cooking. Trent and I usually do our the team legacy builder calls on Monday now while we're on dates. Sorry, babe. So sometimes we're like,
Yes,
to an island.
I'm cooking for 35 people for next weekend, so I got to do it today.
Oh
It's my
my
only
goodness.
day.
Amazing.
And I'm taking it all to Kelowna. So yeah, I got to do, and I've been doing it since this morning. I'm like, I can't stop. I'm just going to listen.
I love it.
I thought
Yeah.
that was a lot of
Maximus
that.
anytime.
Oh, well, my husband just did the bill, and because I was like, I wonder how much we spent on this, because of course we got our regular groceries at the same time. We spent $180. It adds up, like cheese, like the cheese and yeah, the meat. Yeah. Anyways, back to Ternot. Sorry.
You can come back to this anytime, but you can also multitask. So for example, Lori,
100%.
if somebody's on your list who's a mom, like who doesn't want to have a play date and talk about business at the same time, right? Win-win. So I've done that too. People on my list, I'm like, let's have a play date. Let's go for tea. Let's get together for dinner, whatever it looks like, right? Invite them over for dinner, have enzymes on the table. So Trent and I are in a dinner club. We put our digestive enzymes on the table for everybody at dinner club. And one of the guys at our dinner club, we gave him a sample of Zest because he keeps telling us, I'm really curious what you guys are up to, right? Any questions or anything anyone wants to add?
I think for me, like one of my biggest, like you say, like, you know, message the people that are liking your stories or whatever. I'm only getting like, you know, 1 or 2 people that are really consistent and others that like, they're not, you know what I mean? Like,
Doesn't matter if they're consistent.
yeah. So I think I'm learning that's okay, because if those 2 people or 3 people eventually jump on board, then I have this feeling that things are just gonna like explode one day.
Well, you're just planting seeds, right? And so just make sure you don't spend more than 20% on people who are showing a little interest, then pulling back, showing a little interest, then pulling back, asking a million questions. That's your green apple, right? So 20% of your time is fine, but you're constantly looking for more red apples, right? Like 80% of your time, you're like, okay, I got to move on. Happy to answer questions. But like, there are definitely a lot of green apples who will just keep and yeah, if they're going to, wonderful. You can get to that point where you feel like you gave them as much as you can. And then, you know, it's okay to pull back and spend your time other places. It's essential. Really.
Lori, so I understand, like how many people would you, like you throw up a story, how many people will see that story? Total.
I would say maybe like maximum 20.
Okay.
But I don't get any likes on my stories. I just get that green dot or the blue dot. So just people, but I know it's the same people. It's like the same, like 10 people, sometimes a few extras. Every once in a while I'll get a like, and I totally message with people and ask about, are you cheering me on or are you interested? I do that all the time.
They don't have to like it. I'll go into my stories and message. I mean, I have quite a few followers, so I usually get between 50 to 150 views. So I just cherry pick 10 people. They don't have
Yeah.
to like it. They're
I think,
looking
yeah.
at your story.
I
So
think
for
the other-
example, if I looked at someone's story and they said that to me and I was just like poking in, I'd just be like, oh my goodness, no, I just missed you.
yeah. I think too, like even like for other people, like my little tiny advice that Leslie kind of gave me was, and you've said it before, but it's something I've been doing recently, is adding more people to my friend list. Like just every going into these mom groups and going like add yourself to, like with Beth and your knitting groups and your, join some like crocheting groups and stuff like that. Or like, I don't know, maybe there's like a post-surgery group, or like there's so many, if you just type it in, like working moms, or like for me and Leslie too, like moms over 40, there's even groups like moms over 50, like whatever. So many Facebook groups. And then I'll find somebody that's like, oh, how, I'm 42 and I'm dealing with a 2-year-old, I'm so tired, and you're like, boom, guess what I got for you, right?
Totally.
And then I just add them on. I haven't had, and I've been doing that for maybe like a month or so, and I have not, like I've had, I would say if I've messaged 10 people out of those groups, I've maybe had like 2 people call me back or message me back. A lot of times they don't even see it. It just says sent and they don't even see it. So that recently I've been going back into those groups and saying, hey, I'm going to send you a message. And that maybe prompts them to look in their like junk folder. But otherwise, I think they just don't really notice it. But I add them to my Facebook group. So I would say in the last like 3 months, I would say like I've probably added like 30 or 40 people that I don't even know. Right.
Awesome.
And I think that's important. I think that's how you get, like you said, you have lots of followers. I think that's what you need. You just need lots of people that are following you. Like for the first time in my life, I'm going through my Facebook list going, I don't even know who these people are, but they're there and they're watching me. So that's cool.
Yeah. And as soon as you add them, one of the tricks that I found, so as soon as I add someone, their stuff pops on if they accept you as a friend. So the best
Yes.
thing to do is try to accept each other. If you can. And then you get to see what they've posted and use put a bunch of comments on what they've done, like a bunch of stuff they've done, say like, oh my gosh, I love this. And I know you're a genuine person, so you will do what comes like from your heart.
Yeah.
And then they'll start to see your stuff. So it's kind of like this game you play back and forth, but I do think it grows, and then they're just going to see your stuff. And it's such a nice way of them seeing what you're doing without you coming straight up being like, hey, oh my God, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. You and I have the same thing. I see something, say, oh my gosh, I have the best thing. I'm going to PM you. And then sometimes other people see that and go, me too. And then you end up with a couple other tag alongs, which is kind of nice. So.
And then my last kind of advice on people who you might feel intimidated by, this is what I do. I'm going to tell you my trick. So for example, say it's a hairstylist, right? I'm not exactly a beauty person. I air dry my hair. I wouldn't say that or a makeup person, for example. I don't wear makeup very often. So it's not my specialty. So for those people, once again, lead with that compliment. Like, so for example, if Leslie and I haven't chatted in a long time, like I knew she was sort of more in the beauty world than I've ever been. So I might say, hey, I'm doing this new thing and there's some beauty products. I know you have experience in this area. I would love for you to come check it out. And like, if I like to give samples, so you can, if they're in your area, do a zest sample or give them a choice. You can put them in those little containers. You could say, I'd love to take you out for coffee after, or, next time you're in town, I'll take you out for coffee if you come check this out. Right. So sometimes that is the thing that will pique their interest, is they're the expert. So for example, for hair people, like I'm with this new company, the results I'm having with my hair are amazing. I'd love for you to come check out this info session we're having tomorrow and let me know what you think, and let them be the expert, right? Or in the fitness world, I would love to be someone who goes to the gym every day. That's not me right now. But for someone who is, I might say, oh my gosh, I know you run this gym. There are this company that I'm with has some amazing products. I'd love to hear your feedback on what you think about them. because we shouldn't be afraid of feedback. So they might come and be like, oh my gosh, that's great. I'd love to know the ingredients about them or get them more information. So those are some of my tips on what to do with your 100 list. And your challenge homework is to finish your 100 list and throw it in our chat. Pick someone on the call who's doing it and buddy up with them. But I'm going to just quickly see who's on here, and I'm going to follow up with you guys. And hold each other accountable. Now, we have an overview happening on Tuesday. It is in the Beauty from the Inside Out. So if you're someone who has had any sort of beauty aspects happen with Turn On, whether it's your skin or your hair or your veins, or you feel younger, we'd love for you to share a quick testimony. We're going to have the amazing Candice LaCharity come on. Candice left the makeup world to come to Turn On. She's going to share why she left that world to come to Turn On, because our products are beauty from the inside out. So really this overview is for absolutely anyone, because we're going to talk about health and wellness. But just so you guys know which that one is. The other thing is, if you want to do your own overview with me, you really want to put your feet to the fire, pick a time with me. We'll set a date, or we can set a date with anybody else. Like if there's someone you really want to come have and do an overview for you, that is how I did it. Because once you have that date in there, or have a grand opening, have a launch, there are so many different ways, but having that place to have the touch point. So for example, if it's your birthday and you're having a birthday party in your backyard, right? If you just made a big flyer on Facebook and said, I'm having a birthday party, there's going to be cake, you might probably not get anybody who shows up. But if you send that personal invite and say, oh my gosh, Leslie, I'm having my birthday party and you are one of the top 3 people on my list, I would love for you to come. Which is more inviting? Right? And if she can't come, maybe we set up a virtual tea date, or at least we've started the conversation. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful. My other challenge is everybody on here is to invite at least 10 people to our overview tomorrow. Nope, Tuesday, our overview Tuesday. Just 10. They can be people who are watching your Facebook. 10 touch points. So with that number, that's 10 of your 100 people. Remember, it's a numbers game. There are so many people on the planet with gut issues, with energy, with money, all the different things that we have to offer, that you don't know the gift you're going to be to somebody else. So come from that place of service, come from love, come from heart, and reach out to me if you have any other questions. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. And I will be in touch about your lists. Post it when you're done. We have some work to do. Love you guys.
Yay. Thank you, Benny. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.